Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia Live on Prime FM 105.5. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Focus on Liberia, we're going to be looking at Article 61 of the Liberian Constitution. And the question we're going to be answering is the president of Liberia immune to persecution after he or she leaves office? That's the question we are going to be dealing with, and that's why we have a lawyer here, Councillor Frederick A.B. Jayweh, who's going to answer that question for us. Councillor, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. As always, I'm happy to be here.
We also have our anchorman at Prime FM, Mr. Prince Moba. Prince, welcome to Focus on Liberia as we grapple with the question of presidential immunity after office.
Thank you, Dennis, for joining me here in Liberia. It's great to be on the platform tonight. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Again, we want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. We also want to welcome those listening to us via radio in Liberia. Welcome. Every Sunday, we have our FOL Justice Forum where we discuss legal issues that are germane to the country, especially those ones that will keep you politicized. We always have a legal mind to give us the details, all the ramifications, and all the 9 years surrounding these legal issues. Of late, there has been chatter about whether or not the president of Liberia can be sued or can be indicted for anything after he or she leaves office. And so that's why we are here. So again, I want to call on Mr. Prince Momba, who's joining us from Monrovia. Prince, to lay it out for us, the question of presidential immunity after office has been discussed widely in Liberia for some time now. Of late, it has gained some steam. What is the discussion about in Liberia pertaining to presidential immunity? Just walk us through what has been discussed.
Yeah, so thanks, Dennis. So this is constitutional issue that is immediately given to presidents of Liberia by the Constitution of Liberia. But what happens is that when leaders, especially presidents, are in offices, there are sometimes things that they would do that might warrant someone suing them or being taken to court or being prosecuted. But because it is a constitutional issue, sometimes people cannot dare do that. So this is a discussion that has been going on for years, especially so when the leaders are in office and then there are some dissatisfaction in the public, and people can sometimes question the particular provisions of the Constitution that gives them those protection. So it's a good thing that we going to put it under the spotlight tonight with a lawyer on the platform, and the listeners both via the radio and via the internet will also have their say. But this is something that has been discussed in Liberia for so long. Why the law is like that? What are their needs for amendment to the law? And whether it should be as it is. So those are questions people have been asking, and we've all been asking, and we hope that the discussion tonight will bring forth some answers as to whether the law itself is real or it's just meant to protect certain group of people in the country.
Thank you so much, Prince. That's why we have Councillor Jayweh. So let me lay out for us. Here are the three questions that we are about to answer. But before we get to the three questions, let's look at Article 61 of the Liberian Constitution, which, according to some legal minds, give the president immunity from persecution. It reads, the president shall be immune from any suits, action, or proceedings, judicial or otherwise, and from arrest, detention, or other actions on account of any act done by him while president of Liberia, pursuant to any provision of this Constitution or any other laws of the Republic. The President shall not, however, be immune from prosecution upon removal from office for the commission of any criminal act done while President. So based on that provision, and Councillor Jayweh will give us the background as to why a Supreme Court opinion that gave legs to this belief. So here are the questions we're going to be answering tonight. Does Article 61 of the Constitution of Liberia grant the President of Liberia absolute immunity for crimes he or she committed while in office? Question number 2, can the President of Liberia only be indicted, arrested, and prosecuted if he or she is impeached by the House and convicted by the Senate? And question number 3, does the courts of Liberia lack jurisdictions to indict, arrest, prosecute the President of Liberia for crimes he or she committed while in office if he or she was not impeached? Councillor Jayweh, here is the question. Those are the questions that we're going to be answering. But first, give us the background why this is important and why we are talking about it tonight.
Well, the issue of immunity seems to interest not only the President of Liberia or former President of Liberia, appears to be an issue that was also discussed during President George Walker Bush's term of office. And so many scholars on both sides. On the other hand, there are a group of scholars that believe that the president enjoys absolute immunity, meaning that when he leaves office, he or she leaves office, no one should go after her or him. And that everything that the president did in order to maintain a perfect and a smooth running of the country, the president of all countries should be immune absolutely from fear of committing or being indicted, arrested, prosecuted, or taken to court for civilly. That's the view of one set of constitutional lawyers. There are those lawyers who believe the other end of it, who say that the law protects the president of a country from arrest, from indictment, arrest, and civil prosecution, as well as criminal prosecution, when he or she is in office.
Right.
But after she leaves office or he leaves office, that immunity does not any longer extend to him. So currently, I have been overhearing. In fact, on Saturday, I went through Spoon Talk, and a key advisor to President Weah, Sam Jackson, said that, the president of Liberia cannot be arrested, cannot be indicted, arrested, and brought to court for prosecution because the court has no jurisdiction over him or her, consistent with Article 61 and the Supreme Court opinion that was entered in 1997. I take the opposite view, and I think that we should go into the question as to whether a president is only to be prosecuted when he or she is impeached from office, or after he leaves or she leaves. Could the court of Liberia have jurisdiction over former president as well? So the question is whether the president is above the law. That's the question.
Thank you, Councillor Jayweh. We want to welcome our viewers from across the globe. Again, this is focused on Liberia. And bring your questions, bring your comments. We're going to make this a form of discussion. So again, let's read Article 61. the president of Liberia shall be immune from any suits, action, or proceedings, judicial or otherwise, and from arrest, detention, or other actions on account of any act done by him while in office, pursuant to any provision of this Constitution or any other laws of the Republic. The president shall not, however, be immune from prosecution upon removal from office for the commission of any criminal act done while president. So let me start from here. Councillor Jayweh, why is this thing even coming up? Because it clearly states here, while in office, the president shall be immune from any suits, proceeding, blah, 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 while in office. It is so I'm reading it maybe in a simple way, right? I'm only reading it like you are immune while you are in office, but after office, your government boom. Is that not the case?
That's the position I hold.
Yeah, but what is this? What is the direct trans? Because when you look at it, it doesn't mention after the president leaves office. So where does it coming from?
You know, to better understand Article 61,
okay,
when you go to law school, it is constitutional law 101 that talks about the construction, the interpretation, and application of a constitutional provision. Now, your question, why is it coming on now? It's coming on now because I have heard, as I said, Sam Jackson, one of the key advisors to President Weah, has said that the president of Liberia is immune. And he referenced the Supreme Court, Article 61, and the Supreme Court opinion. Now, your analysis and your reasoning is the rightful reasoning in that when you want to interpret Article 61, you will need to first go back to the original intent of the framers. We had Dr. Sawyer, may his soul rest in peace, and other key Liberians on the Constitutional Review Committee, Constitutional Drafting Committee.
Yeah.
They came up with what they thought was necessary in Liberia as a constitutional framework. Then we have Dr. Cllr, may his soul also rest in peace. He was head of the advisory committee. Now, in order to give the actual interpretation and reasoning to Article 61, any scholar, any legal scholar will need to go back to the notes that Dr. Sawyer and the rest of those Liberians who are on the Constitutional Drafting Committee. What did they mean when they say that, when they wrote Article 61? Did it mean that the president of Liberia is immune perpetually? Did it mean that the president of Liberia enjoys absolute immunity? So to answer those questions, you have to go to looking at the notes of Dr. Sawyer and the rest of them that are on the Constitutional Drafting Committee. You also need to look at what did they decide and how, what is it that they agreed to. Once you've done that, you also need to go to the advisory committee because they finalize the constitution that we have today. And look at what Dr. Cllr and his team looked at when they wrote Article 61. Did it mean that Article 61 should be given a literary interpretation, meaning that only when the president is impeached for crime he or she committed while in office and removed by impeachment, then he or she can be prosecuted? Or did it mean that the president of Liberia can be prosecuted when he or she is no longer in office? If you do not go through the scenario and the framework and the steps that I'm outlining, then you have done injustice to the actual interpretation, the construction, and the application of the Constitution, because you have to look at the original meaning of the framers. What did the Supreme Court do? And this is a full bench decision. The 1997 decision is a full bench decision, meaning the 4 associate justices and the Chief Justice all signed this opinion.
Right.
So do we have it as a law in Liberia currently? Yes, that's the law on our books.
Right. Let's go into that. You said because this question came up before, and the Supreme Court wrote an opinion. In other words, the rule on it. So let's talk about that opinion. What did the opinion say, and what's the background of that case?
Well, the case has to do with former interim president Charles Julie Bryant. It is alleged that former interim president Bryant stole pretty close to 1.9 million and 1.3 million, sorry, 1.3 million. So when the government of the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came to power, the Minister of Justice under Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf ordered the arrest of the late Julie Bryant, Charles Julie Bryant, indicted him, brought him to court, and decided to prosecute him on a crime of economic sabotage, taking government money, taking money away from the government. So he filed a bond. The bond was approved. Immediately after the bond was approved and he was allowed to leave, lawyers representing him fled to the justice in chambers in the Supreme Court and filed a petition for prohibition to prevent the government of Liberia, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government, from prosecuting him further, from even going to the case. And raised the issue that as president of Liberia, Article 61 protected him unless Article 62 was applied, which has to do with impeachment and removal from office. He could not be prosecuted. The justice in chambers at the time was Her Honor Gladys Johnson. Looking at the constitutionality and the constitutional issue raised by Mr. Bryant and his lawyers, issued a writ of prohibition and had the matter forwarded to the full bench of the Supreme Court, because when constitutional issues are raised before a court, because the justice in chamber on her own or on his own do not have the capability, does not have the capability to be able to decide constitutional issue. That's why Her Honor Gladys Johnson filed a matter to the Supreme Court, because all constitutional issues squarely raised must be decided by the full bench of the Supreme Court, not by the justice in chambers and not by a lower court judge.
Okay.
So then the Supreme Court heard the case in bank, meaning all five of them, the Chief Justice and all four Associate Justices, heard this case and designated Mr. Justice Kabina Jane to write the opinion, which they all, after conference, voted that Mr. Jane should write the opinion. Mr. Justice Jane wrote the opinion on two and made a judgment on two salient issues. One, is the president of Liberia immune from prosecution for crimes he or she committed while in office? Two, is the president of Liberia immune from prosecution if he or she is not impeached for crime that he's committed while still in office? Now, this is an interesting case.
Yeah.
The government of Liberia, the Minister of Justice at the time, Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, took the position that in order for a president to function, a function or her function does not include the commission of crime.
Right.
And that's the position I took myself. And they further argued that no one is above the law, including the president of Liberia. If the court will hold that the president of Liberia, after he or she leaves office, if not impeached, if the president of Liberia is allowed to go free, then the president of Liberia can commit to one, theft of property while in office. 2, commit a crime of murder while in office. 3, commit gross human rights violation. And then when he or she leave office, not impinged, she goes free or he goes free. And I think this is an important matter because the Weah government has started to ask the question, is Mr. Weah, as president of Liberia, immune? Can he be prosecuted if you are not impinged, if he left the bench?
So, Councillor, before we go further, so based on the Supreme Court, based on the opinion that was written by the Supreme Court, or by Councillor Janin, which the full bench endorsed, the law is the president has absolute immunity.
As it stands today, that's what the law is. As of today's date, the president of Liberia can take away your wife. The president of Liberia can take away your land. The president of Liberia can murder your son. The president of Liberia can set your house on fire. And if he is not impinged and convicted by the Senate, he's free. He has immunity, complete immunity, absolute immunity. Now, do I think the Supreme Court did well with that decision? I say no.
Don't say that before you be held in contempt.
Oh, you can comment on the decision of the Supreme Court.
Oh, okay, you can comment. Okay,
that's
go ahead.
You can comment. I'm saying that, do I think that the Supreme Court of Liberia acted consistent with the interpretation and construction of the law prior to awarding absolute immunity to the president of Liberia? I say no. Why do I say that? I say no because in order to interpret any constitutional provision, you must go back to the original intent of why Article 61 was written in the first place. I mean, all of us know Dr. Sawyer. You old enough, you know that Dr. Sawyer was a major advocate of human rights in Liberia. Would Dr. Sawyer write, and good governance, would Dr. Sawyer write a draft constitution that says that the president of Liberia, if he or she is not impinged, that president has absolute immunity? No, Dr. Sawyer will never do that. You didn't need to know Dr. Sawyer as a student or Dr. Sawyer as a friend. You just need to follow his activity when he was alive. Equally so then the Supreme Court should have gone back to, and I read the opinion, there was no reference to going back to the notes of the Constitutional Committee. Why was that? Why was it written that way?
But Councillor Jayweh, we don't, to say that the mind of Dr. Sawyer, I mean, what can we do with that? Whether who he was, is that relevant to a constitutional provision? We look in the Constitution and see what it says, and that's what we. No.
You need to go back. That's why I said we need to go back to the original intent of the Constitutional Drafting Committee. It's not just the mind of Dr. Sawyer. We need to go back to what notes were taken when the committee sat. What did the committee discuss? What did they agree to, particularly as of 61, Article 61? When you look at that note, any scholar, you will have to look at the notes of the Constitutional Committee. You have to look at what did they agree to. You have to look at did they infer or even dream of allowing the president of Liberia to have absolute and perpetual immunity. Once you ask those questions and you look at the notes, the answer from the notes, the drafting committee, that is what the constitutional lawyer referred to as the original intent, will give you better idea of what the drafter of the Constitution was thinking when they drafted Article 61. Then you go further than that. You go further and look at the notes of Dr. Kessley, Bian Kessley. What did Dr. Bian Kessley and his team think of? So it's not what they thought in their heads. What did they write down? The minutes, the deliberations. What did they agree to before writing Article 61? If you don't do that, then you are literally giving a meaning to the Constitution that the drafters and the Vice Committee did not mean. In this case, the Supreme Court said we will disallow the entire argument of the government, which is that the president of Liberia is not above the law, and that crimes committed by him or her while in office can be prosecuted after he leaves office. He doesn't necessarily need to be impeached. Doesn't necessarily need to be impeached. But the Supreme Court said no. In fact, the Supreme Court said, if you read the opinion very clearly, you will see the Supreme Court is saying that the president is above everybody else in Liberia. That's what the Supreme Court said in this opinion. If everybody else were told that if you follow the law, you do not breach the law, then you will not be taken to court. Then all Liberians and the president will be equal. Of course, they are equal. No president is ever elected to be in office to commit crime and say that he or she will be removed. None.
Prince, you look very surprised when Councillor was. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm listening to the councillor. Talking about the opinion of the Supreme Court in 1997 and why he disagreed with the opinion written by the then Associate Justice Cabinet Janet. But the question is, like Dennis was saying, the Constitution was, the notes were taken, and in my mind, the best of all that the committee members proposed were compiled, and then the Constitution was finalized. So what difference does one going back and looking at the notes do also of the actual interpretation of what is being written? How can it be interpreted? How can we put that in the content?
Let me go back and give you some historical context. Mr. Bryant, Charles Judith Bryant, was voted for and made chairperson of the transitional government by two warring factions. One of the warring factions is Lloyd, L-U-R-D. The other is referred to as Model. And so Mr. Justice Janet was a key member of Lloyd, L-U-R-D. And the political parties were part of that when they agreed that the transitional government should be formed. They even complained, the warring faction even complained that Mr. Bryant bought himself a Mercedes and was spending the government money without consulting the warring faction.
Councillor, before you continue, because you made a statement here that Justice Janet was a member of Cllr.
A key member.
A key member. What's your reliance?
Oh, Mr. Justice Janet's signature on all the documents that were signed to what you call it, have Mr. Bryant as a chairman. If you go back to the peace agreement that was signed in Accra, Ghana, Mr. Janet is a signatory. Why did I mention him? Let me tell you why did I mention him. I mention him because after being a member of Lloyd, a key member of Lloyd, and he ascended to the Supreme Court bench by appointment by Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And the matter that went to the Supreme Court on immunity had to derive from the peace agreement that was signed in Accra. Any justice or any lawyer who is elevated to the bench will recuse yourself because you are a party to the agreement that is being contested. because you are a party of the formation and the finalization of the peace agreement. So no one needed to raise the issue for you to recuse yourself. Mr. Justice Jayweh should have recused himself automatically as a matter of law.
Councillor, I'm lost right there.
I'll
Because
tell you what.
because you said he should recuse himself because the matter of immunity came out of the Accra Peace Agreement.
No, Mr. I'm going back to Charles Judah Bryant.
Yeah.
Was never elected.
Okay.
I know all of us know that he was never elected.
Right.
He was selected at an ECOWAS conference.
Right.
That conference was brought together by Lloyd, L-E-R-D, and Model, along with the political parties, registered political parties in Liberia, that nominated and selected him to be chairman. The complaint about Mr. Bryant misusing the government money for which economic sabotage crime was raised and he was arrested and brought to court grew out of when he was chairman of the interim government that were formed by Lloyd, Model, and the political parties. And in fact, the complaint is generally in complaint that the warring faction filed to ECOWAS that Mr. Bryant was using the money of the government without consulting the warring faction. In all of those meetings, Mr. Justice Jayweh was privy to the meetings. He was part of them. And so if that same case came to court, for which a petition for prohibition was filed, claiming that Mr. Bryant, who was selected by the two warring factions and the political party, and the prohibition went on to the Supreme Court, growing out of misusing of the same money that the warring faction complained about to ECOWAS, which Mr. Jayweh was also part of the ECOWAS, part of the law group, when Model and Lloyd complained. That complaint now has been reduced to a court matter. For all fairness, Mr. Justice Jayweh, who participated in all of the meetings that led to the CP to the peace agreement, that is now cited in. You see the opinion, you will see that cited. That now cited in the opinion. Should not have participated in the judgment at all.
All right, I get your point now. But there were 5. You know, he was not alone. So
I'm not even holding him alone.
Okay.
I'm saying that if the Supreme Court wanted to do justice to this case,
right,
the Supreme Court would have looked at and that's what constitutional law construction and application call for. That's the rule of construction, of interpretation of any article in any constitution. Go back to the original intent. What did Dr. Sawyer and others mean when they wrote Article 67? What they said their notes said. Prince asked a correct question. Why is this important? Because the Supreme Court should have gone back to the notes of Dr. Sawyer, who were part of the drafting committee, and see what did they say. They were also, the Supreme Court should have also gone on to the notes of Dr. Cllr and others to see what did they say. Did they say that unless the president was impeached, he or she had absolute immunity? If you don't do that, I read the opinion. What Mr. Justice Jayweh did, he wrote the opinion. He went back to the opinion of CDB King. He went back to other old 75, 76-year-old opinion. But that's not how you interpret Constitution. You go back to what the original intent of the Constitution is. What did the framers mean?
So here are key words, and some of our guests are mentioning them now. Milfi Deco say, did the Supreme Court take the definition of the word pursuant into consideration before making such? And that's the same thing I was talking about, because everything that is said here, the president shall be immune from any suits, action, blah, blah, blah. It comes to say pursuant to any provision of this Constitution. So that immunity is based on what you have done in office based on the Constitution. Is that correct?
Correct. But what the Supreme Court did, it took the shorter route to the decision.
Okay, and what is that?
It went ahead and looked at what did Mr. Justice Russell say some 70 years ago. Look at what did the Supreme Court decision in the King, in a slave trade situation. They went back and made reference to cases that would support their position. But that's not an interpretation of Constitution. You go back to the original intent of the Constitution and ask, what did the framers mean when they wrote Article 61?
But Councilor, I thought it was precedent. So you go back to other decisions that were being taken, right?
Well, no, what they did, if you just did what they did was that, to me, was a shortcut in getting to the decision they ran. Because what the government did, which was very fine, the government raised very keen issue. The government said that, look, if you allow the president of Liberia to be perpetually and absolutely immune, what you are saying is that the president of Liberia is above the law and the Liberians are his subjects. That's what that opinion, the clear interpretation of that opinion means. The president of Liberia, once you get elected as president of Liberia, you can do anything on earth. No Liberian is equal to you. You are now the super law above the laws of the country. It happened because the Supreme Court did not go back to looking at the notes of the framework of the Constitution. It happened because the Supreme Court did not look at the notes of the advisory committee. If you read the opinion, there is not a reference to what Dr. Sawyer then meant. There is not a reference to what Dr. Cllr and her team meant.
So here's the opinion, even though we're not going to go into all of it, but here is the opinion of the Supreme Court. So let's go to the three questions so you can briefly step through them. Does Article 61 of the Constitution of Liberia grant the president of Liberia absolute immunity for crimes he or she committed while in office?
No.
No, but the opinion said yes.
No, yeah, Supreme Court opinion said yes. And I need to note, until that opinion is recalled, it remains part of the laws of the country. One of the things that my office is doing is that we are going to challenge that opinion through other cases to ensure that the president of Liberia does not think, believe, or dream that he or she is above the law. So the way to challenge it is to either take Mr. Salif to court and then let the other side raise it that there is an opinion and allow the Supreme Court making clear case that you need to record it, because they did not look at the original intent of the Constitution. They look at precedent. Oh, this is what the Supreme Court said in the King versus Republic of Liberia versus King. Oh, this is what Mr. Justice Russell said some 75 years ago. Yeah, you can refer to the precedent, but you are under a legal duty to go back to the original intent of the framework of the Constitution.
Right.
If you don't make reference to what the framework was thinking and what they wrote, then you have done injustice to the law.
Second question. Can the president of Liberia only be indicted, arrested, and prosecuted if he or she is impeached by the House and convicted by the Senate?
The Supreme Court answer yes.
The Supreme Court answer yes, and you are saying
I'm saying
no. That way.
I'm saying it's a tragedy to not have gone back to the original intent of the framers. It's also injustice to say that once you get elected in Liberia, then you are above the law forever unless you are impeached. Can anybody impeach President Weah?
Or any other president?
Yeah, or any other president. But let's forget about President Weah. Could the legislature that were controlled and run by Mrs. Salif ever try to impeach her?
I don't believe so.
No. Even if you say, let's say the next person that is elected as president, could any legislature, people pick up from Sonima and other places that I brought in, can they be strong enough to say we will impeach the president? No. What the President Salif succeeded in doing, she was able to manipulate the legislature and they remove Snow. It doesn't mean Snow I like him at all. I just basically name him. They remove him as Speaker of the House. Mr. Salih used the legislature to remove Snow. Then she brought in Cllr. Then later on, she removed Cllr. That tells you that the legislature, the House of Representatives, and the Senate have been so weak. And this is a historical issue, have been so unable to run their own affairs to the point that the president of Liberia just need to call them and give them envelopes. No president in Africa will be impeached as of this age, because he controls the entire budget of the country. Did you see the Liberian government budget? Do you see how much money goes to the Ministry of Finance? The last budget review that I looked at, the 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019 budget, the Ministry of Finance had 210 million into its budget. That's one ministry of government. Why is that amount of money kept there? So the president can have leverage.
Yeah, but Councillor, the law will not look at that, right? That's not what someone interpreting Article 61 is going to look at.
Well, if you interpret Article 61, the constitutional scholarly requirement is you go back to the intent of the framers. You look at their notes. When you say original intent, you look at their notes. You look at the decision. You look at who all voted. You look at what did they agree to when they voted. You must mention that in the opinion. There is nowhere in that opinion that the Supreme Court said that it went back to the original intent of the framework. It went back to listing cases. The King case, Justice Russell, what he said, 1975 years ago. So today, we have an issue of president. We are believing that he is immune. Obviously, he is, because the Constitution,
right, that's the law.
Article 61 says that have been wrongly interpreted. Obviously, he would think that way because there is a Supreme Court opinion that said that if you did not impeach him, he can go free.
Yeah. So number 3, so it means the court lacked the jurisdiction to indict him, prosecute, arrest, unless he or she is impeached.
That's the whole name of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that no court, this is interesting, the Supreme Court said no court, including the Supreme Court, has a jurisdiction over the president of Liberia if he or she were never impeached. My goodness. That is, anyone in Liberia can begin I can today buy a good amount of arms from Russia, go from Grand Bassa country, go through compound number 1 and begin to shoot the hell out of everybody, and get to the mansion and shoot the president out and be president. And then I will show you, in my hand, I have an opinion that said that I'm immune.
Yeah. And
use every political means to ensure that the House does not even draw a bill of impeachment. Use every political means to, including money though, ensure that the Senate does not even sit to hear my impeachment process. Is that what Liberian people want? That's the law that we live by. In order to ensure that that opinion does not live forever, our office will file an action against either Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf or Mr. George Manawia and contest it when they are no longer in office. What are we saying to the children who are unborn? That as the government argued rightly, the government said, look, that law is saying that when the president acts consistent with law. In my master program, I wrote a 10-page paper on who are those immune. It said the president, when he leaves office, look, I don't know whether Liberians are paying attention, but the President Trump now, his business dealings are being investigated. And we say we borrow our law from the United States. So that opinion is so bad that it is important that lawyers of sound mind come together and contest it before the very Supreme Court. Start from maybe a lower court case up to the Supreme Court, and argue why this opinion is not a good opinion. It's because there is no reference to going back to the original thought of the frame of the Constitution.
Thank you. Let me bring on Prince, because Prince, these things are being discussed in Liberia. So currently, what's the general feeling? Even before you ask your question to Councillor Jayweh, what's the general feeling of the people towards the interpretation of the Supreme Court? And since this question has come up again, where is the opinion going? Public opinion.
Yeah. Yes, so I'm very sure that with this discussion tonight, again, it's going to reawaken the public opinion on the Supreme Court's opinion in 2007. Remember, many may have forgotten about it, but as we begin it up tonight, people are going to be researching to read exactly. Some of me have read it, and so again, it's going to widen the debate. I'm sure after the show tonight, people are going to be discussing it. Maybe other local radio stations are going to pick it up to dig deeper into it, and even have a personal interview with other lawyers, constitutional lawyers, as to why this opinion was rendered and where it's taking us to. And so, yeah, it's good to bring it out as soon as this time, so that leaders can know, presidents can know whether they actually appeal when they have the immunity when they leave offices, or how they can govern themselves when they are president in the country. So I want to ask just two questions, Councillor. Specifically with Article 61. So I want to be clear. Do you think there's a need to amend that portion of the Constitution, or you also think that there are other provisions of the Constitution that need amendment? That's one. The second one is the opinion rendered by the then Associate Justice Cabinet General at that time. Will you be clear on the radio to just remind the judges the lawyers in Liberia, the councillors in Liberia, that there's a need that opinion be recorded before it leads us into something that we may not control? Are you thinking that way?
Let me take the last question first. I think lawyers of sound mind and scholarly people should look at that opinion, read the opinion from start to finish, pay very keen attention to it, and file a case that will challenge the propriety of the Supreme Court decision, and by so doing, bluntly ask the Supreme Court to record that decision. Now, and that's I think lawyers should get involved in. The Bar Association should get involved with it. If they will not get involved, lawyers who think differently should get involved with it to ensure that. And easy to get involved. Take Mrs. Salif to court. She's a former president. Or anything that you felt that she did that was not consistent with law, and let the matter travel to the Supreme Court and ask for interpretation. Ask the Supreme Court to take back record that opinion. The second thing is that your question is whether I believe Article 61 should be amended. I don't believe so. Here's what I believe. I believe that for a court, particularly the Supreme Court, that is charged with responsibility to interpret and ensure that the Constitution is applied, I believe the Supreme Court should be given the opportunity to go back to looking at the notes. This is what the law on interpretation of the Constitution calls. Go back and look at the original intent. What was the real meaning behind Article 61? You will only answer it when you read the notes of Dr. Sawyer and those who are on the Constitutional Committee. Then you go further. If you find that Dr. Sawyer then meant that the president of Liberia has absolute immunity, then there's a reason to conduct a referendum. I believe as a lawyer that many things happen in writing that constitution. We had the military government into force. President Doe was in power. I believe that people armed were twisted here, there, Yana. But I still believe that court should not assume what the framer of the original intent of the framer, what is it, by not making any reference at all to visiting the notes, by not making any reference at all about visitation to the advisory committee note. Even by doing that, the court will be better positioned, not by referring to a case that was 75 years old as a president. It doesn't help that's not how constitutional interpretation are done.
So Councillor, here a question, Prince, before you come in. What then is the purpose of Article 61?
My interpretation of Article 61 is
the purpose first before we get to the interpretation.
The purpose of Article 61 is in twofold. One is to make sure that while the president of Liberia is in office as president and conducting the affairs of the state, he or she is not to be distracted by civil or criminal lawsuits. That is when he or she is in office.
Right. Even for those he committed before getting to office, you can't.
I know that he is not covered by those he committed before he got into office. He's not covered. He was never president when he committed whatever offense. If you look at,
you can't sue him until he gets out.
Yeah, the best thing to do is that because you don't want the law provides that a president should not be distracted, should not be disturbed while running the affairs of the state. Always having a commander-in-chief around to answer the critical question. He or she should not be taken to court and prosecuted. That's what Article 2, and that is, it is consistent with the law in the Constitution, consistent with, pursuant to actually mean that the president will act consistent with law.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the president will, and the government raised those issues. Again, my understanding of how the decision was reached supposes that the constitutional provision, the constitutional drafting committee notes were never reviewed. The same with the advisory committee, and so the 61 means that the president of Liberia, after he or she leaves office, can be prosecuted for crimes he or she committed. The simple theory for that is that no Liberian is above the law.
Thank you. Prince?
Yeah, let me ask something right there, Council. So, Council, we all Liberians, and we from Liberia, regardless of where you find yourself as you are speaking from the US.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself succeeding in this court, especially when an opinion was rendered and you will be calling for it to be recalled on this jurisdiction? Do you see a clear way for you in a direction? Then the next one is what lies ahead of us as a country if the law remains as it is? Do you think with this provision of the Constitution, the immediate part government in any way has some protection for things they did while in power, especially the president, while in power, and that this provision of the Constitution is protecting her, that she cannot be prosecuted? You think so?
I'm not one of those persons who accused the court particularly the Supreme Court, of being inept. I don't believe the justices on the bench do not know what they are doing. I believe they are scholars. I believe they are capable. I know all the justices on the bench. I believe that people that are capable to be able to listen to reasoning and ensure that this particular interpretation, this particular case is recalled. I am not going to make political statement to say that we write speeches and deliver it at places. No, we're going to go to court. As a lawyer, I'm not a speech writer. I don't deliver opinions. I don't deliver speeches unless I'm called to participate in anything. I am hired. I am trained. I am professionally capable to file legal proceeding before the court. And the only way this law would be recalled is when challenges are mounted to the court and the justices are told why the opinion need to be recalled. Whether or not this particular bench can recall the opinion, I will answer yes until they prove me otherwise. So whether it's we are in power, whether it's Mrs. Sally in power, I believe that lawyers need to challenge bad laws that are on the books.
Thank you.
And what the last question? That's the last question, right?
His question is, what lies ahead?
Well, if the opinion remains as it is, I can assure you that Liberia is enjoying a pseudo peace. Because people whose relatives are murdered, people whose properties are taken, must have redress. And not going to the bush. That's not what I mean. I mean redress before our court. Liberians know that when the Supreme Court, I don't know how old are you, but when the Supreme Court made a decision, James A. Pierre, Chief Justice Pierre Bench, made a decision for a Liberian who some Lebanese choked to death.
Because of Kennedy.
And said that, trophy. The one we can buy, I think 2 for 5 in Liberia. And killed that young man, and the Supreme Court made a wrong decision. Where are we today? Liberia is dark. There is no light in Liberia. I know when I graduated from high school, we had light in all the Sony one, all the other, Jalatown, Saytown, Bishop Bro, all the other places.
Oh, okay.
Every share you will see light.
When you said Liberia is dark, I thought that was prophecy. You meant actual light.
No, actual light. There's no light in Liberia.
Okay.
It's dark. It's dark. I don't mean anything over the country. No, I mean there's no light. Because the law was not enforced the way it should have been interpreted and enforced, Liberia went to war. 250,000 people died.
Yeah. Steve Watson says similar case happened in America and the president was not charged. This is why the Americans changed that law in their constitution. Let Liberia do the same by having a referendum. Is Steve correct?
I agree for a referendum, but I would still believe that challenges should go before the court to ensure that the justices are informed and impressed why the decision is a bad decision. Mind you, the peace and tranquility that is enjoyed in any country, including Liberia, include respecting the rule of law. Let me tell you something. Mr. Sally had interest in prosecuting Charles Bryant for political interest. Because it was Bryant and others that went together and got the political party that met in 1997. I forgot the man who they elected as a candidate.
Clinton Watterson.
Yes, Honorable Watterson. When Mr. Salif and it was part of Brian was part of the Liberia Action Party, they all did that. So being as vindictive as Mr. Salif is, she wanted to prosecute him. But apparently somebody told us, when you prosecute him, the same thing will come to you. Without knowing what happened, what did not happen, a prohibition was filed. The Supreme Court the full bench decided that president of Liberia, all presidents of Liberia as it stands today, they are above the law. So that's why I was in Liberia for 6 months. I see a government official can leave the link, they go drive to your side, they come to you. And when one happened with one of the justices in the Supreme Court, he drove from his side to front page, running here, driving, going to across the bridge, I think around Town. Guess what happened? The Supreme Court served a citation running here to come to court and show cause why he should not be held in contempt. Because he was driving the right lane of the road. He was on his side. And when they got there, what did the justice do? That particular justice went on in his drawer and brought a traffic vehicle and traffic law that said that all government officials of his nature can drive opposite lane. Is that the country they want to have?
Oh, wow. Here's a question here. I think the country devil is agreeing with you here. He said the Article 61 say, why president of Liberia? No one is president of Liberia after leaving office.
Correct. That's another way to interpret it. And you know, most of the people who laying such an interpretation are not trained lawyers. It's common sense. You don't need to be a lawyer to know that it is common sense that in order to maintain law and order, everyone must be protected under the law. Everyone must be equal under the law. Why do you think, President, we are asking people to ask everybody to say, what do you think about this opinion? Am I protected or not protected?
Councillor, where did you see President? We are asking people about this.
Oh, I just mentioned to you Sam Jackson, who is a key economic political advisor to the president, on Saturday.
I think he's a de facto advisor.
Oh, he's getting paid.
Oh, okay. I don't know that.
He has a job. He's getting paid. The man boasts about it on what you call the Spoon Talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, the number is on the screen, 601-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. If you are in the diaspora, call this number and take part in the conversation. If you are in Liberia, Prince is going to announce the number to call.
All right, so thank you for joining us. This is Focus on Liberia here on Prime 105.5 with me, Dennis Jar, and the councillor there, Councillor Jayweh, in studio, are providing us legal food for thought as it relates to our judicial system and why Article 61 should be properly interpreted so that our presidents who served will not go with impunity after their services. Call us on 0777 05 3336 0777 05 3336. Our call number is again 0777 05 3336 is line 1. Line 2 is 0770 0770 1051. 0770 1051 is line 2. You can call those numbers. We're going to pick it up so they can have a say on the show tonight.
Thank you. So Councillor, let's lay out this way. And we're going to use President Weah. He's in power now. So if for any reason President Weah commits any crime, including murder, while in office, he's not going to be prosecuted. Even if he leaves office, he's protected under the law. I mean, what sort of thinking is that? Or are we saying he's never going to do it? Is that the understanding that the president is always going to do something right? He's not going to do something out of the way.
If you read the Supreme Court opinion and look at it very keenly, the Supreme Court is saying that once you get elected as president, you are above all other Liberians. The president is above the Republic of Liberia and its laws, and above all Liberians, whether naturalized or natural born. That thinking was political. You can say that thinking and that kind of reasoning is a dangerous reasoning in that every president will refer to that law, to Article 61, and go to the elaboration by looking at the Constitution of Liberia, looking at the Supreme Court opinion. and say, I'm immune. Why can I go and take the whole of Sano County and say, this is my land? I'm president. Who can ask me after I leave? The Fremont never thought of that. If you want to know the Fremont's thinking, what they concluded, what they discussed, go back to the minutes.
Go to the notes. Councillor, we got a caller on the line who's going to join this conversation. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
Thank you so much, Mr. John. This is Elvis calling from Minnesota.
Your name again?
Thank you. Elvis calling from Minnesota.
Go ahead, Elvis.
Are you getting me?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yes. I just wanted to tell you thank you for the show tonight, and then thank you to Councilor Jayweh. Quickly, I just want to give my opinion on the topic tonight. Well, I kind of agree with the decision of the Supreme Court in that, presidents are not ordinary people. Although we are in America, that's something that's stressed a lot here. And again, that's one of the reasons that makes America special compared to other countries around the world. But in Liberia or in other countries, in Africa, or even in other places like South America, presidents are not equal to a citizen, to a regular citizen. Whether we like it or not, it's legally idealistic to think that everyone is equal under the law. But presidents are special people, and there are special exceptions to them. So I agree with the decision that presidents should have some form of immunity except murder while they're in office. Now, like for other people, like Trump, for example, you can go after them for things that they did previous to becoming presidents. But I think while they're in office, they should have some form of immunity, mainly because it will be used as a political ploy to go after them after they leave office by their political rivals. So that I think maybe in hindsight, it's a good thing that presidents should have some form of immunity. Whether maybe we need to kind of maybe concise it to specific things, but definitely they should have some form of immunity from persecution after office. Thank you again for taking my call.
Elvis, before you go, you were saying if we allow them to be taken to court, people are going to take advantage of that. Is that the reasoning? Because that's why they are going to court, right?
Well, yes, of course. Now it goes both ways. Now, for some of us who look at corrupt, presidents and corrupt government, we would say, well, the next person that come in there got to prosecute that person. Good for us. We're right on that point. But then, in the same token, you can have a president who may be innocent, but because of political reason or maybe for revenge or something, a president who comes to the seat after that president or succeeds him could use all of his power or her powers to put that person into political problems or legal problems down the road as revenge. So it goes both ways. Okay. And maybe Councilor Jayweh can speak on that in terms of retribution for presidents after they leave office. Thank you again, Mr. Jai. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Elvis. Councilor Jayweh, you heard our caller. What's your take?
I don't agree with him. That's what the Supreme Court opinion said, that the president should be above other Liberians. Where are we going to stop? Everyone will fight to be president. When you become president, then you do anything that lies within your power. That's why people go to court. And he seems to be saying that the court will listen to political insinuation and decide to say, we hold this person for a crime that he did not commit. No, the court wouldn't do that. The court should never be doing that. The court will look at the facts and apply the law. Sometimes our court can go wrong. That's why it's important to ensure that a challenge to this opinion is made and the Supreme Court be clearly told why it is a bad precedent to begin to believe that the president of Liberia is above every other Liberian.
Thank you. Let me look at the Prince. Get ready. Let me look at the law again. It said the president shall be immune from any suits, actions, or proceedings, judicial or otherwise, and from arrest, detention, or actions on account of any act done by him while president of Liberia pursuant to any provision of the Constitution or any other laws of the Republic. The president shall not, however, be immune from prosecution upon removal from office for the commission of any criminal act done while president. Prince, do you have a caller?
Yeah, so let me once go announce the number. I have few callers and drop it down. The numbers are 0770-1051, 0770-1051. Line 2 is 0777-05-3336, 0777-05-3336. Those are the numbers you can call to be a part of the program tonight on Prime FM. This is Focus on Liberia.
Thank you so much.
I want to take a few questions and I got to run.
Yeah. So if we have we still have some more comments here that I want to. Stephen Watson said Article 61 in the Constitution was put there to protect the PRC government, even if they left power. If the public don't like, force your lawmakers to have referendum on it. Boo Young said the color is or must be. Oh, you can call somebody sick in the mind. Boo, you know better than that. You can disagree. Sekou might have said when he or she leaves office, they are no longer president but private citizen. So yes, you can be prosecuted as a Swa Mapu. Your employee can still lie and kill you, then go free. So in other words, the president is the employee of the people, and we are saying if they leave power, they can go free. Dave just saying the legislature was warned, has warned the police never to tamper with them, regardless of whatever they do. And Councillor, if you remember, my own senator from Sino County, Milton Tiaje, had a similar issue where there was this issue with a lady who sent her car, and he allegedly took it. Prince, you have a caller? Go ahead.
Yeah, please work for your radio. Good evening. You have to lower the volume of the radio. You can't do this. So we can continue with that caller, Dennis.
All right. Councillor, Senator Tiaje had the same issue. And he said, you can't do anything to me. I'm senator. Where is this going?
You know, I think the lady was not represented by any lawyer. I saw her on a YouTube video. She was explaining, but I did not. These are some of the things that I think the Bar Association should take interest in. To be able to represent somebody like that, who the woman said she had all of the document, the bill of lading and whatever thing that took her car to Liberia. Yeah, come to go. That took her car to Liberia. So why was her vehicle taken? And then nobody did anything about it because the woman did not have a lawyer to represent her. She ended up, coming back to the United States, and her car is in the hands of Mr. Senator Tiaje.
Thank you. Let's chat with Prince.
Hello, caller. Your name, where you call us from?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you. Dennis, can you hear you?
Little bit.
All right, go ahead. Caller, make your point.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is Jayweh, and I'm calling you from Central Liberia.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. This man talking the last councillor right there. Well, good evening, sir. Good morning or whatever. The topic is very, very important. I am a criminal justice student, and I think I've been troubled too by this overpower of misuse of presidency in Liberia, which has gotten our country to where we are today. I agree with the councillor that it's particular immunity by the president on the Constitution of the Supreme Court to the president, on behalf of the president, against the very Constitution itself. Because no one about the Constitution. How do you interpret that? The president was just an ordinary man yesterday from one of the communities who was empowered by the people. So he begged them, or she begged them to become president for them. Then overnight, the same Constitution has made that president higher than the entire president that has like become the
Yes, you lie. Go ahead.
Even the police officer, you cannot just arrest the police officer. You have to go through what you call his authority or her authority, like any security, like the EPS, like the state themselves are claiming that they themselves cannot go to court when they are in session. So as a result, these people continue to manipulate the law. Then what is the essence of the law when the very Constitution, right, is clear that no one is above it. And when you are taking oath, you are taking oath to protect the Constitution. So that is the intent of the Constitution is the will of the people, the good of the people. That well-being. How can you then say you have a right to live the life?
Thank you.
Use the military without reason.
Thank you.
Police without reason. At your will and pleasure. That's your president.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Constitution is wrong on that.
Thank you so much for making your point. I'm sure.
It needs to be rejected.
Thanks.
I want to ask a question. The council wants a question, so just one last.
Go ahead.
Council, can a Supreme Court opinion be reviewed and replaced or amended? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making your point. So you can call us on 0770-1051, 0770-1051, or 0777-053336.
All right.
Go ahead.
Let me take two calls here, and then we'll call it a day. The first one here is Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy?
Yes. Hi, John. How well do you hear me?
Very well. Go ahead, sir.
Very good. Counselor, I love the points you bring up because for me, even though I'm not legal-minded, I believe that our Constitution is fundamental to our democracy. And having clauses in there only to favor a particular group or particular time, we will have an inevitable constitutional crisis someday. For instance, case in point, the Citizen Clause. We find that it's been challenged. The similar clause that was adopted from the American Constitution, the similar clause was struck down and removed from their Constitution, but it still is applicable to ours. My question to you, though, I'm glad that you're going to challenge this to make the right changes come about. But it appears that our entire Constitution is full of holes, and hence compromising our democracy. What would you recommend, to straighten out all these matters like citizenry, immunity to the president? What do you recommend to the Liberian government and to Liberians as a whole that we do to get a document, a breathable document that is going to be living, but at the same time executable? What do you recommend, sir?
Thank you. Councilor, let me take the last caller. And that is Kesali Double. Mr. Double, you are live.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. John.
Thank you.
And thanks to Councilor Jayweh for the show. Why it's true that I thought my day would have been good coming on the show today, but the response I'm getting seems to be like just messed my whole day up. And if something is not done with that identical ruling that was made by the Supreme Court, I can see something terrible happening in Liberia. Let us be blunt and say it as it is. Sometimes when we say some of these things, people don't like to hear it. There are people who are not standing. I can remember I was in Liberia sometime during the Civil War when people started going in the street and started burning the properties of faction leader, warring faction leader, wherever they were, in all of those hotels and all of those things because they went to the police and called, and they did not come from any ruling. Every time they come to tell us, we did not come with any finding. Liberians got in the street, they started hunting those faction leaders, all of those rebel leaders who are hunting that. I still remember I was in Mongolia. This is one of the things we are coming to. If nothing is done, if the Supreme Court does not reverse our ruling on that clinical case, I can tell you I see something serious happening. And like Councilor Jayweh said, he's going to challenge it, and I hope we can challenge it now
before President Weah leaves office, and then we start to run after. It's better to challenge it now so we can have some ruling on it before that time comes. Because I really see trouble coming if we do not work on this thing and make it to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor, 2 questions.
Let me answer the first one first. Apart from challenging the Article 61, I think Liberia needs a sovereign national constitutional conference. It might just be Article 61 that is, being talked about right now. There could be other provisions in the Constitution that need to be changed. So because the Constitution is written during a military year, many other things in there, take Article 97 that say, everybody is immune. We think we need to have a sovereign conference to deal with that. The other thing is that I don't think that Liberians should wait until President Weah leaves office. I think the process should, I think the process should be challenged within the maybe 2024. Why do I say 2024? Because everybody will be busy looking at election processes. So you can file a case before the Supreme Court. They would think that it's political if you went ahead and begin to attach it, tackle it right now within that period. I think the time frame is too short. It requires a lot of studies. I think enough research needs to be done to be able to file. The lawyers that would challenge this case, including myself, would need a very good research done, comparing other cases, comparing other constitutions to be able to make sure that the court should turn it over, recall it. Apart from that, Liberians should be able to impress upon the government, whosoever come to power in 2024 after the 2023 election, there should be a sovereign national constitutional conference to look at the entire constitution. I think by now, President Weah should be able to perhaps set up a crack team of lawyers to be able to look at it. Liberia is bigger than all of us, whether you are president, whether you are not a president, whether you're living down waterside, whether you're not living down waterside. Liberia belongs to all of us. We should do everything that will remove us from any semblance of war. Gentlemen, I have to run.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Councillor. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., there's a gentleman who is running to be representative of Grand Crew County District Number 2. His name is Japa Maxwell Hawks. He's going to be here with the political bulldog, Anthony Sear, on the Hour of Politics. And then on Saturday, we're going to be having the Liberia Diaspora Virtual Summit. And this is a place, it's organized by the Liberia Diaspora Engagement Program in the Office of the Minister of State with our portfolio. And it's in collaboration with the Year of the Diaspora, Liberia Foreign Missions, and all Liberian Diaspora organizations. Please register now to attend. I'm going to be one of the MCs to the program. You don't want to miss that. Prince, you heard from Councillor Jayweh, and as we wrap this up, let me get your overall take on this whole thing. It's like people are making laws, and then I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, what's your take as we wrap this up?
So, Dennis, and the good thing there is that every lawyer will, especially constitutional lawyers, will like to interpret the Constitution the way they want it suited. But the overall here is, I myself do think the law is not, it's not a good one. Why it's true that you don't want for the president to be bothered with lawsuit here and there, people taking the president to court and all those kind of things. Maybe the president in the court will even jeopardize the entire investigation. But if the president leaves office, I think the president, someone could so much he could be sued. Yeah. And if he leaves office, or there are things, there are other crimes committed. I mean, not just with the impeachment thing that lies in the hands of the legislature, but there are other crimes committed against private citizens. I think they should have the right to pursue that in the court. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Boo Youngler say, I'm appalled with these type of laws implemented, perpetrated by greedy lawmakers. Another revolution will be in the making if this law is not challenged or amended. And Boo, this was done by the lawmakers. It's in the Constitution, and according to Councillor Jayweh, it's being wrongly interpreted by the Supreme Court. And that's why we have the Supreme Court opinion now, which is law. So today, no matter what president we are or any other president does while in office, when they leave, you can't touch them. Emmanuel Colley said the president can use the country's money and build his personal city and walk free after leaving office. Why? Because according to the Supreme Court opinion, you can't touch him, you can prosecute him for anything he did while in office. Prince, we want to thank our viewers tonight very much and thank Councillor Jayweh as well for providing his legal opinion in this matter. Let me get your closing comments as we wrap this up.
So let me say thanks so much. Thanks to the listening audience here in Liberia. This is focused on the Liberia from the US. We in partnership with them. We had Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturday. So, I mean, we just pray and hope that all of those discussions we have on the radio will not go in vain. That policymakers and state actors will take decisions in the best interest of the country, because we just come on the radio to talk because we have free time to talk. We talk those things because there are reasons for which we talk them, and then we want them to take it in good faith and act upon them. That will benefit the nation and these people. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
On that note, we want to end our broadcast by playing the song that says we are all Liberians. Whether you agree with the Supreme Court opinion or not, we are all Liberians, and let us do whatever it takes to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Have a good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.